Thanks so much for coming back and joining us, you guys. As you know, my name is Sheena, and we are here with Women's Bodybuilding for Real. I'm so excited for today's episode. We have two really amazing, gorgeous, beautiful people. These women's bodybuilders are phenomenal. I'm excited for the one especially because I consider her my little sis, and she just made the jump from physique to women's bodybuilding. But we'll get into all the good stuff. I won't give away too much. I'll let her give tell her little journey. And then, of course, the world-renowned Theresa Ivancik is in the building. I hope I said that right.
Ivancik. It's good.
I did it. So we're going to jump right in. This is episode 4. So we'll jump right in and get to the key. Welcome, girls. What's up?
Hello.
Hi.
Hey. I'm so excited to have you guys both on. Teresa, you're right in my hood. Like, you're in Pennsylvania. I'm right in Jersey. So you're a little bit away, but, like a hop, skip, and a jump. So I feel like, you're home peoples.
Yep.
And then Tequila, I want to say, are you in Georgia? Are you in Atlanta?
Yeah, I'm in Atlanta.
All right, cool. Do me a favor, Tequila. Are you able to move your phone either over to the left or the right? You're like slightly off center, or like move over more to your left. Boom. All right, cool. Yes. Yeah. So, Tequila, remind me, you're in Atlanta, right?
Yes. Yes, okay. Atlanta. Mm-hmm.
Cool beans. So why don't we jump into what's going on, what's new and exciting for all of us? But Teresa, I'll start with you, and then Tequila, I'll get to you. And I love your name because it's like my favorite drink.
I've had way too many shots of tequila this weekend, so yes.
Okay.
Sorry, Trey.
So, Teresa, tell us about you. What's going on? How's everything going? What's new and exciting? I did hear some news, but I'll let you get to it.
Yeah, stuff's good. We made a little bit of a revamp, which you probably know. I switched coaches. I'm with Andrew View now. We've been together for about 7 weeks. And it's been going really, really good. We have decided to potentially target Toronto Pro. I'm trying to do shows that I've never done. So I've done Chicago, I've done Norfolk, I've done the Indy, which we don't have this year. So I'm going to try to do the Toronto. I've won 3, so I'm going after 4. So it's exciting.
Oh.
It's exciting.
Who were you working with before your coach?
I was working with Brandon Ray.
Okay, cool beans. And you guys were for a year. You guys just did last season together?
Yeah, I jumped from Hassan, which we all know, like all the issues that went along. It had nothing to do with him. He's an amazing guy. It was one of the clients that he had just putting things in people's heads and saying certain things. I need to walk away from the situation. I apologized to him in person at the Olympia. And then I just kind of moved on to Brandon Ray 8 weeks out from the Indy Pro. So he didn't have a lot of time with me, but we won that and then went to the Olympia.
Yeah, you brought a really good look. I did like that look. And I think the judges went in a little bit of a different direction. And I think it was a good direction. I think it was a positive direction. But I think with each show, it just depends on the judging panel, like which judges are judging, which way they're going to go, what they're looking for, and also who shows up. I think.
Yeah, that's where I was going to go, because it just depends on who shows up and what they have to go with, because they can only judge the people that are up there on that stage with them. So they have to kind of pick, like they always say, it's like apples and oranges. They got to really figure out, okay, what we've got the shape, now we got conditioning, and then they just kind of feed it out from there.
That's right. And we'll get a little bit deeper into that because I think that's a really good talking point and point of discussion that for people at home watching who might not necessarily be too familiar with the nuts and bolts and how it all works at a show. I think it'll be really important to sort of touch on that and maybe even to dispel some myths about, judging and everything like that. So I'm excited to get back into that. What about you, Tequila? What's up?
Trying to get my ass in gear. No. I'm like, wait, it's March. The year is nearly it. No, so we're still working with Trey. And so we are deciding we're probably going to do Puerto Rico again, and definitely Atlanta. Still trying to figure out, just because some of the shows that we were thinking last year that are not on the schedule for this year, kind of what we're going to kind of reroute and do. But definitely we have those 2 shows, kind of set in. So right now it's just still putting a little bit of size. And also just working on bringing that leaner package. So
that's right.
That is what is going on right now as far as that competition world.
And you've been essentially in improvement season because, we don't like to call it all season.
Right.
You've been in improvement season.
Improvement season.
Then Puerto Rico. You didn't do another shot?
Since Atlanta.
Since Atlanta, that's
Since
right.
Atlanta, yes. So we definitely made some different, some improvement in my legs, and working on those lower lats. And so that is where, and also the midsection. I have 2 abdominal surgeries, and so it took these last show to realize, oh, my abs look way different now. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where before I did not need to train core as much, now I have to definitely make that a huge priority. And so that's been something different that has been added in. Just, not because I love core, but they feel different, So it turns out to something that used to be one of my strongest things. Now it's like, wait, it hurts now. I've only done 10. Okay, now, So definitely working a lot on that midsection to bring in a tighter midsection to be able to control that muscle again.
Absolutely. Yeah. And obviously, there are a lot of bodybuilders, people out there, people who are training and everything. And, I know the midsection is always a big point of focus when it comes to competitors. And even with the general population, everybody's always talking about abs. Oh, I just want to get my abs tight.
Right.
Give me
You're not in shape unless you have abs.
I mean, my abs in my butt. But for competitors, it's really important because it gives you that, that X frame, that V taper, that illusion, and that's, that is important. Really incorporating ab training, ab conditioning. Those are really different things because if you want to chisel out your abs, define your abs, really shape the abs, keep the waistline tight, that ab training is serious. And when you've had procedures or you've gone through injuries or things like that, it's one of those things that we don't really think about too much, but then you have to sort of reprogram and recondition.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you guys are, crossing your T's and dotting your I's with that and hitting the ground running. So that's cool. That's good to hear. I'm super excited to talk a little bit more about our show plans for the year and to get into maybe even some of the controversy about the available shows. Because if you guys are anything like me, you've checked the schedules and there are several shows that are no longer on the schedule. There are some shows that have been added, right? Maybe like 1 or 2 shows that were added, but then there are several shows that were taken off. So it always feels like, we're like going 3 steps forward or 2 steps forward, 3 steps back. So I would love to get your take on the schedule, the current schedule now for women's bodybuilding. Teresa, you want to go?
I think like that, like where you're going with it, like it's disappointing.
I was going to say.
I clicked on the website, and then I was asking Wings of Strength a couple of weeks, okay, do you post anything? Because I know the IFBB and Wings of Strength, their schedules don't quite click right in the beginning. So there was some shows, I don't even know if Linda's even on the IFBB schedule still yet. But, going on there, you're like, okay, crap, I really don't have a lot to choose from. And you know how expensive this sport is. So you're like, I don't want to travel to the other side of the United States. So what is around me? So I'm picking shows that are going to be closer to me, to make it happen. But again, if we want to really dive into it, like, okay, now we don't have points. So like men's physique, you click on that thing, there's like 50 shows for them to qualify. We have nothing, so that's why I'm getting very upset, like with the fact that like we don't have chances, now the people that have won pro shows before, I don't know. I'm going to speak to this as my own self. If I would have never won a pro show, I don't know if I would compete because there was always that self-doubt that I didn't already beat these people. Now they're coming again and they're going to beat me again. So that's something else to, constantly think about. I might have backed out, because your chances I don't want to say it this way, but odds are not in your favor, because you got thousands of girls that are at this top pro rank that are training their ass off because we know we only got one shot to do this. And you cannot do show after show after show to burn your body out either to try to win.
Preach about it.
We can't. Like our hormones, we can't take that. We're all going to be sick and we're going to be hurting. And it's not fair. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
Yeah, to piggyback on the Teresa, and honestly, that has been one of my mental, to be completely honest, struggles of getting motivated for this year, especially as a newer pro in the bodybuilding. I was so excited to join the bodybuilders. And, last year we had maybe 4 or 5 extra shows than we have now, but also you had that point system in place. I'm in the middle of the road on the point system. I think that, rightfully so, when a show, qualify for Olympia, the best of the best. but only if that same opportunity is given to all the categories across the board.
Right.
And so when I look at that schedule, and, you know, it did take a long time to even, what was it, the end of January, 1st of February, before we got maybe a full clear-cut schedule of this year. It's like, okay, now I have 3 or 4 chances to even try to qualify for the Olympia.
But look at even coming out of the Olympia. Christ,
Right.
it was December. You
Right.
know, like we can't turn around and like, okay, you only got so many shows to do, so you have no choice but to go right back in prep. I had 4 weeks off. 4.
And then with
That's
Olympia being earlier this year.
Yeah.
So that was a little bit, and then with losing the ambassadorship program and losing some of the wings of strength. So it's like, okay, so now how, financially, what options do we have to be able to continue to do the one thing that we love and that we are passionate about? And, you know, what lane are we going to have to travel to get that money, you know? And so that has been a huge mental block of me having to sit back and really dig deep to figure out my why. Okay, why am I doing this? Are you only doing this to win the Olympia? Are you only doing this to get on stage? Are you only doing this? Because if that is your only reason, then like Teresa says, we're going to be sick. Because we're going to keep pushing for that show and then the next show and the next show. And as bodybuilders, we know we can't not successfully peak multiple times a year and really be at our best physically and mentally. So,
and I mean, we're the only pros that pay to play, you know, and then like, it's just like, you know, they're making money off of us while we stand on stage. I get the whole concept of it, but they're getting like pay-per-view now. They're getting like the entry fees, and the money like for a pro to win a pro show is $2,000. That doesn't even cover like a month of my stuff.
Right.
Like, so it's very hard. Like you said, you have to have a talk with yourself and be realistic on this, you know, because one, this could hurt families, boyfriends, girlfriends, relationships, businesses, because like you're needing all this money to go do what you want to do, but it's almost very, very hard to even achieve anymore.
Right.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend who was getting ready to go for her pro show, her pro win, her pro card. And the day before, just talking and hearing, but the financial burden that she is going through, and to not be awarded her pro card due to the lack of participation, you know, it's heartbreaking. You know what I mean? It's heartbreaking. And to know that, when she gets that pro card, the one thing that she's, striving for financially is not going to get any better for her. You know what I mean?
No, it gets worse. It gets worse.
So I'm like,
it's worse because obviously at the pro level, like, you know, the level of professionalism, like the professional level suit, right? Like, I think even at the amateur level, I think there are a lot of competitors who put a lot of time and effort and money and, you know, they invest into it because they start acting like pros ahead of time. And I think those are the ones that are successful because they go with the pro mentality before they're even pros. I think that it is more expensive as a pro because you have to travel so far. You don't have a lot of those more local regional shows.
Right.
So you're traveling, you know, your flights, your accommodations, your car, the food when you have to get there. When you're local, you could kind of like pack up your food and it's not a big deal. You know, drive an hour, 2 hours at the most, really. And it's not a big deal. A lot of times you don't even need to get a hotel because you could stay home, drive up an hour to wherever it's at. And I'm like right in Jersey. So there are plenty of shows here in Jersey, up in New York. So you could drive an hour and you really don't even have to do a hotel. So I think those are just elements that the powers that be need to take into consideration for women's bodybuilding. And I'm not promoting necessarily a platform to cry and moan and whine about it because, you know, this is the you know, industry we decided to get into, but because of the passion that we have for it. And I think that all of us can agree we only want to be afforded the same opportunities as a lot of these other divisions and a lot of these other professionals in our industry, especially when it comes to all we're really asking for is just more opportunity to compete, to get on the stage. And I can attest personally to, and I think a lot of us have gone through this, I can attest personally to how damaging and how risky it can really be to be in prep all year trying to push through to the next show, push through to the next show. And we're all professionals, and I think we're all competitive to a level where we want to win. We're not going to a show just to get points. None of us go, oh, well, let me just get points.
Right.
Yeah.
Because even that is risky. You know, in order to even qualify for the show, you have to do 4 or 5, possibly 6 shows. It's just not feasible. You know what I mean? Health-wise, money-wise, none of that. And last year when I did Chicago, felt really good about Chicago, felt like we brought a really good package. And to Teresa's point, it's just about who shows up. It's about who shows up, who they're comparing against. It was a great show. Then we pushed through the Tampa. 2 weeks later, it was fine. I'm like, oh, I could do that. No biggie. But then you have 5 weeks until Savannah because, you know, I just missed out on that placing, you know, on that win. And so to push through 5 weeks to Savannah and then another 5 weeks to Rising Phoenix, 5 weeks doesn't sound like a lot of time, but when you've already been in prep for 20 weeks before your first show, and now you're going through another 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 10 weeks, possibly even pushing through to the Olympia, you've now been in prep 20, 40, 10 weeks, 10 weeks out of the year that you haven't been in prep. That doesn't leave much time for an improvement season, for a rebound.
Or I want to ensure that if you've already qualified, you should not be allowed to do a pro show and take it away from somebody else. Because there's been numerous people that constantly are doing these shows and have won 3, 4, 5, that's 5 spots taken away. So we can't allow that, especially for our division. Because if somebody comes in and like just they win Chicago, then goes wins Atlanta, then goes and wins something else, how is that fair? Because it just kicked everybody out that could have played.
Well, then I think that that's where the bump system comes into play.
Yes.
Because you don't disqualify anybody from competing, because we do want to show up and put our names out there more and really promote women's bodybuilding. And the promoters want to promote the divisions. Like the promoters who actually have women's bodybuilding, they want the top pros to show up. So for instance, you know, Tequila, you did Puerto Rico, you were in women's physique at the time, and I want to get into that next. But let's just say you did women's bodybuilding, and then, you know, 4 weeks later, 6 weeks later, you wanted to do the Atlanta show. We want those top physiques coming. We want as many bodies on stage to really show off. And as competitors, sometimes you just need to refine things. You need to play it out. So if you do get that qualification and you win, maybe you want to refine your peak, or you want to just, you know, see how you stand up against other girls. Let's not take that opportunity away. But if you already have that qualification and you win the next show, you don't get that win. You don't get that qualification, or that qualification doesn't get taken from somebody else. But maybe that second place person then gets bumped up to that qualification.
That's right. I totally agree with you.
Promoting women's bodybuilding and promoting having opportunity for the competitors, you know, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, so I agree with that. And I think those are the kinds of questions and the kind of conversations that the promoters need to be having, that the league needs to be having, that sponsors and, you know, the people who are endorsing the shows need to be having. Like, let's give these girls an opportunity to compete.
I agree. Totally agree.
You talked a little bit about your off season, Teresa. You only had 4 weeks off season this year?
Pretty much, yeah. Because because I kept it clean because I had like things I was doing, photos and stuff like that, so I couldn't get like dirty with food. And then I was being very self-cautious if I didn't want to gain a lot of weight back, you know. So I might have went up 10 pounds, 15 pounds post stage. You know, now at this level, I feel like I don't need to do a full off season. I don't want to get big. I do not want to hit 200 pounds. I don't want to hit 190 because then I got to diet all that shit off, and I end up at the same damn weight on stage anyway. So I'm not doing it. So I'm going along with like I'm going to build what I have and try to keep more lean muscle mass instead of just like that fluff and chase the scale. You know, so I mean, it's a little bit different, you know, going right into a prep right now, like motivation, like you were talking about, like you have that talk with yourself, like, do you really want to do this right now? Like, should you back off and then like push the shows back a little bit? So it's like you have good days and bad days. You're like, oh, we're on. We're like, we're going to do this today. And then you're like, what the hell? Like, this is horrible. I don't want to eat this food. So it's a mental game, you know, but I did have just a little bit of time off. But, you know, as pro bodybuilders, this is our lifestyle anyway. So, okay, we cut back on the rice or we cut back on like different things that we do. It's no big deal. We don't look at it as like an amateur would, you know, because we've lived this lifestyle for such a long time. You can pretty much make the switch, but it is difficult. The body aches. It hurts, you know, it hasn't been replenished enough. And I wanted to go back on like something you mentioned prior is like keeping this sport alive, you know, is what this podcast is all about, you know, making the good corrections, getting future girls to want to compete, you know,
Right.
and just fine tuning everything that needs to be done to keep women's bodybuilding on a high platform, just as long as the same as men's bodybuilding.
Right.
Absolutely. Tequila, what about you? How's your off season been going? And I do want to get into, you know, how we all decide to do a show because, like you said, the schedule has been condensed, and I'm really actually upset and confused a little bit because when you look at the IFBB's schedule and then the Wings of Strength schedule, there's a bunch of shows on the Wings of Strength schedule that I don't see on the Pro League schedule, and I'm not sure if they've updated that or if they've solidified that, or maybe that's like a work in progress. But I was really sad to see I want to say the Atlanta show wasn't on there. Linda's Atlanta show wasn't on there. And the Savannah show wasn't on there. But I did see Linda's doing, what show is she doing this year? It's a different show. It's, I'll have to look at it.
I thought it was Savannah. I wanted to say Savannah, but I'm not.
Savannah
wasn't on there. I feel like it was. I was really upset because I was looking at that show for me because that's the show that my body kind of just went kaput with last year, pushing through. You know, that was like my third show, so I was like, you know, let's have a good off season. Let my body heal. Let it, you know, just get healthy, rest, and then do a later prep. Meaning, like, start my prep later in the season. Last year, I started in February, and like February, March, and so. When you're starting so early in the year and then going all the way through November, I mean, literally that's the whole year. So I wanted to give ourselves some time. Me and Trey talked about it, and it was like, let's give ourselves a sort of an extended improvement season, work on some of the areas to bring up, and then do that show sort of like, you know, my redo. But I didn't see it. So I'll make sure to go on and double check. I'll have to pull out my other phone so we can see. Well, you know what? Maybe if I can share my screen, I wonder if we should go on and like look for it. Yeah. But while we do that,
I was looking for that show as well. Because I remember there weren't because Atlanta's in July. And I think there was like only one other show before the Wings of Strength one. Before the Olympia, and I was just like,
well, there's a lot of ones that Wings of Strength is not even incorporating themselves with anymore.
Right.
Yeah, they've cut themselves from a lot of the main shows.
Which they have.
Tequila, how did you go about deciding what you were going to, like, what show you were going to do?
Well, we're kind of trying to just, you know, make sure. So one challenge that I have is that I have Crohn's disease. And so digestion is always obviously a huge issue with me, and it's just so sometimes we can eat the same thing for 3 weeks and I'll be fine, and then I will start to have some type of inflammation build up, and we're having time to switch it. So we were wanting to make sure that my digestion was completely, you know, in check and solid for these past 3 months, and so since that has been kind of, I would say, about more 70% going in the right direction, that's when we say, okay, now let's go ahead on and start to push a little bit more food. And so now that I'm able to kind of get some more food in my system, now we're going to see, you know, if it's going to be Puerto Rico, it's going to be Atlanta, or if we're needing to push it back one more. But definitely, of anything, trying to do at least one show this year.
Okay. How long have you been dealing with Crohn's? Is that something that you've always dealt with? Or
I got diagnosed at 25.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And that's more of a gut issue, a stomach issue?
Yes. Crohn's is kind of in that umbrella as an autoimmune disorder. And so it affects everyone differently. My mom actually has it, and they're starting to come out that, you know, Crohn's disease is more genetic as well. But she has it in her small intestine, so she's had 3 feet of her intestines removed. Mine's New York.
All right, so really quickly, I'm not to cut you off, but I did pull up the schedule. So let me know if you guys can see it. We have the Van Isle show, right? That's the Vancouver show. And that was a show last year that only had, I want to say 3 people.
I think there was only like 2 or 3,
No. That was one. That was Eva Montgomery.
Okay.
Right? So that was Eva. That's where she won.
I know
And
there's
then
more people doing it this year though.
Yeah.
I think there's more people doing it
Yeah.
this year. I know for sure Sherry Priyami, I think, is doing that. She
She
mentioned,
is. Yeah.
I want to say on Facebook, not Facebook, on the bodybuilding channel, female bodybuilding channel, that she was doing that. So we have the Van Isle show, and that's in April. We have the New York, which is in May. So these are all like a month apart.
I was
if you
about to
guys-
say that's a month apart. Yeah.
right? So then we have Toronto, and Teresa, you said that's the one you're looking at.
Mhm.
And then Puerto Rico, Tequila, you said that's the one you're looking at. But again, it's still like a month apart. Like this is
Right.
the
Yeah.
beginning of June, it's the end of June. We have
Yes.
the Mr. Big, which is in Portugal. So before we even get
Yeah.
out of the States, we only have 4 shows in the
Right.
States. And we're already halfway through the season, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
You're in June by that point. And the Olympia is in November.
November 5th.
So then now, actually, not even, I mean, yes, Puerto Rico is the States, but you would still have to travel out of the States for it in a sense. You would travel.
Mhm.
So we have Puerto Rico, Portugal.
Oh yeah. Wait.
Okay, so Linda Murray's Atlanta Pro is on here, which is good.
Okay. Yeah.
All right,
And
so
but Savannah's not.
Chicago.
No, Savannah's
what?
not.
Savannah's not. So that's
No.
what I think I saw. I was looking at that. I was like, because didn't Linda have 3 shows last year?
She did.
Yeah. So then Chicago, and then so then we get into July, and we have 3 shows. But when we're talking about the U.S., really only 2 shows in
Yeah.
July in the U.S. You know, if you're gonna travel, especially internationally, that adds a whole nother layer
Mhm.
of complexity to your prep. And then we have Tampa and Romania, which is the Masters Olympia, right? So
Yes.
that's not like you'll go and get an Olympia qualification in just the Open.
Mhm.
The Pittsburgh Championships, that's September. Again, another international show, which is Alicante, that's Spain, in September. And then you're jumping right into really the championships. You have
Yeah.
Rising Phoenix and Mr. Olympia. So if we count, we're just going to count those shows before, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 shows. Possibly.
I don't think the Pittsburgh one that you could get in a qualification for
Pittsburgh.
Olympia there.
No, okay.
You can
That's
compete
so
there, but
bad.
you won't get a qualification to go.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a bummer. So 9 shows before the Rising Phoenix and before the Olympia.
Mhm.
And I'm just going to say this, and I'll put this out there. Hopefully, I'll put this out into the universe. To anyone listening, pro league listening, promoters listening, we simply need more opportunities to compete. When you look at all of the other divisions, and this is not like a moaning, groaning, complaining platform or call, but it's a call to action because it's important if you want to continue pushing women's bodybuilding, which what it feels like is they're just trying to push us out.
Mhm.
And whether that's the intent or not, that's what happens when you don't provide enough opportunities.
Mhm.
People are going to drop down to, lower divisions.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, Teresa, you did that,
Mhm.
right? You went
Yeah.
from bodybuilding, you went to bodybuilding,
Yeah.
you were in bodybuilding, you went down to women's physique. And then once we brought back the women's bodybuilding, the
No,
Miss
I
Olympia,
I did that in the middle of women's bodybuilding.
you did it in the middle.
Oh yeah, because after my first Olympia in 2020, I was told to go down if I wanted to place better, because like it was my body type. I wasn't like super dense and super big, and I was feeling us all are in the same bracket. We're too big for women's physique, but we're too like small for women's bodybuilding, and we kind of just squeezed right in the middle, and say, "Here I am, judge me how you want."
I feel like we have more like a more athletic, streamlined, sort of shape. We're not like super massive,
Correct.
but we're not small by any means.
No.
We really are that middle of the road. And we have probably body parts that we could bring up or bring down or sort of balance out, rather not bring down. But
what are your thoughts, I guess, on the fact of like, what if you did like a women's bodybuilding, like you did a 212? Like where you have a heavyweight division for people that will be on stage at this certain weight. This is like our 212 division. And then you've got us, which I feel will help boost the sport. Because if going in as a small girl that you want to be a women's bodybuilder, sometimes that's not even realistic. You're like, I'm never going to get to that point. But if you have a spot where, I'm not saying we're lightweight bodybuilders by any means, but it's just saying we're still heavyweight bodybuilders. We're just not like super heavyweight bodybuilders on stage.
I'm totally on board with giving the weight classes because I think too often people will try to force that women's physique in as, oh, that's the lighter weight women's bodybuilding. And it's really not. They just have a totally different look, totally different level of conditioning, total different like structure when it comes to what's being awarded in women's physique. And then when you come into women's bodybuilding, you have smaller girls who are too dense for women's physique. Shout out to Tequila.
Yes, it's true.
But you know, you might be sitting at 140 pounds, like jacked, versus somebody like me. I'm 180, 190 pounds. I'm on stage at 170. Like, if you really look across the board, how is somebody competing? How is a 130, 140 bodybuilder competing with somebody at 180, 190?
I don't even break 160 on stage. I can't. My pro wins, I was 150. I mean, like, it was just like, and then that's where it's like, where do you fit? You know, because then everybody else is 170, 180.
You haven't been able to break through 160 on
I did
stage.
160 this past year.
Okay.
But all the other competitions, I was 150. 149, 150.
Yeah.
And how tall are you?
5'6".
5'6".
Yeah.
Okay. Tequila, how tall are you?
5'3".
5'3". So you look at all those different things, and I think obviously that plays into just creating more opportunity, but also making it so that people fit, you know, and can be competitive. Because you're never going to take somebody, I don't want to say never, because if we look at this past Olympia, you look at Angela Yao, right? Yo or Yao, I want to say it's Yo.
Yeah.
You look at her, how she came onto stage. She's a shorter girl, very like peeled, shredded, conditioning out of this world. All of her muscle parts aren't necessarily boisterous and big and dense and hard and, you know, like just like large. But then you put her up against somebody like like Andrea Shaw, and girls just packed with muscle, bubbly muscle. They can compete, but then Andrea, I want to say, is only 5'3" or 5'4". She's not much taller.
She's 5'4".
She's a little tall. Yeah,
she's a little taller. You know what I mean? But compared to an Asha Hadley, me, like Asha, me, I think Eva is a little taller too. Like, for the taller girls, 5'6", Teresa, we naturally are going to carry more muscle, but it's going to be harder to fill that out. So it's just like
elongated, you know,
bodybuilders, right? And they have a hard time sort of filling out there. You look at a Samson Dowda.
I was going to say,
he's like, what is he? 6'2", 6'3"? That boy is big, right?
Yep.
He was able to fill out, but over the years, it took him, you know, a few years to really get there. But you're putting him next to, you know, shorter competitors like a Nick Walker. Yeah, they're able to compete, but look at what it takes to get there, right? Yep. And then you're talking about safety, when you're talking about health, when you're talking about, you know, competing the whole year, not having a whole lot of opportunities, that's where things sort of start to get mucky. And I think that if we had those smaller divisions like a 212, right, a lightweight women's bodybuilding and a heavyweight women's bodybuilding, so where those weight divisions really started to make sense, I think it would do nothing but boost the participation and the competitors and the ability to compete and like the drive to compete, because we're all competitive. Like, most of us are competitive. I don't want to get on stage if I'm not really in the mix to win.
No,
like, I'm doing this for my health.
Just do it to do it. No, you can't. You can't.
Nobody wants a participation medal.
Not at this level.
No.
Not at this level, not with everything that we're doing, right?
No.
So
I totally agree.
To that point, right, I think that's a good segue to get into what made you make that transition from women's physique to women's bodybuilding. I was in Puerto Rico when you were there, when you competed. And I mean, I saw you on stage next to the other girls, and I was like, hands down, she's got it. Your muscle was bubbly. You were full. You were dense. You were conditioned. You weren't too grainy. Like, you didn't have that, you know, really dry, grainy, sandpapery looking condition. Like, I felt like it was a very soft and gentle conditioning, but very sharp. You saw your separations, but the judges saw it a different way. How did that play into your decision to jump to women's bodybuilding?
It's funny because I feel like I've been on this path my whole entire life. So I started off in figure, and then then I was in fitness. And then I did fitness, and then I went to women's physique when I came.
Wait a second, time out. You were in fitness? Do you have a gymnastics background?
I have a gymnastics in too. Yeah, Jen Hendershot did my routine, and Nicole Duggan.
I was all in my face.
Like I started figure like when we had the 2 suits, the one piece
So did
and the
I.
bikini,
Yeah.
all of that.
I know all
Like
about that.
goals classic. And
Stop
so
it. You wait a second. When did you get into figure? Because I wasn't in figure when we had the 2 pieces.
that was like 2005. Yeah.
So
I was
been
2008.
Yeah.
And
okay.
2007, 2008, and then I think 2009 they took the 2-piece
They
suits
took
away.
they took the one piece away.
Or the 1-piece suit away.
The one that had my velvet blue one.
Yes, I have them still in my closet. I do.
Oh,
And so I went into
you guys know pictures. Are you down for it?
Well, no, it was so funny because I was trying to find pictures and I was like, come on, NPC News. I'm like, y'all have got to update these sites and be better define like old photos. I think I have one on my old Facebook. I'm going to have to like send it to you.
I do too.
Because when I look back on the NPC, the latest show they had was like 2018. I'm like, I started in 2005. I did 2005, 2011, but they don't have anything on the site until 2018, which is crazy because I'm like, okay, I have all these. Anyway, but the reason why I got out of fitness is because at that point, they really weren't like rewarding aesthetics, like muscle. Mm. And I was with Steve Payne. He's like, you have to stop training. Like I couldn't work out. All I could do was just do my routine.
Wow.
And I was like, I mean, I have a passion for dance and routine and all that stuff, but I like to train also. I like to lift heavy. And so that's when I took time off, went through a couple of knee surgeries and all that drama, and came back for women's physique. And so I, pushed for women's physique. I think it was Pittsburgh. I ended up being like 11th. And then the next show came out from Miami for women's bodybuilding and won. So, but still did not believe, like, they're like, you're women's bodybuilding. I'm like, I'm not women's bodybuilding. I'm women's physique. I'm not that big. Like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. So that's when I entered my first pro show at Puerto Rico and women's physique.
All right, I just pulled up some pictures, you guys.
It's so funny. I was so bad.
So we're gonna go with Tequila. Here you go.
Where is it? Where's one? Yeah. Oh yeah, fitness. Yeah.
Oh, man.
You got it. Yep. That was figure. Yeah.
So we're gonna do figure first.
Facials.
Oh
okay. Girl, you are. But look at you.
Look at me. Look at me.
Come on.
Yeah, she looks good.
In the heels.
Get out of town. Wait, now was this?
Now, how old were you there?
I have no idea. What was that?
This was 2012, and this is the Eastern Seaboard.
Yeah, that was Eastern Seaboard. So I was obviously in my 30s, late 20s, 30s.
Wow, girlfriend.
Yeah, you look good there.
Yeah.
You had good shape.
So so that's kind of when, and I just love to train. And so my boyfriend at the time, he's a big heavy lifter. So we just started training, and I just kept putting on muscle. And so then I was
look at Teresa.
I'm going to get back on stage.
That's so fast.
Let's see Teresa.
I do think you look good.
Teresa.
So bad.
So yeah, that has been what? Yes.
Wait, so
that's actually 2010. That was bodybuilding in 2010.
Yeah. Wait, I'm sure you have. Oh, they don't have. Wow, you must go. It must go. It must go a little bit further back. They don't have those. Wait,
I still have them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
But this was NPC. So when did you go pro? Junior Nationals?
2016 in Miami.
2016.
Miami.
Yeah. It took me about 10 years.
See, you know what? That's wild. And listen, we had this discussion on another episode. It really does take a serious amount of time. We'll pull up your NPC Nationals.
Mm-hmm.
But that was bodybuilding. But
yeah, these are all bodybuilding. Yeah, I did bodybuilding. All bodybuilding. Yep. 2010, I went to bodybuilding. I shared the stage with my 83-year-old pap in 2010. It was his first show.
What?
Yeah, he always wanted to do it. And I was like, okay, I'm moving from figure. I'm going to go into bodybuilding. And then we put him on stage in running shorts. not even Speedos, because he wasn't going to do it.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, but I talked to Gary, and they made him a most inspirational award, and they gave it to him on
Oh,
stage. And I'll tell you what, that man has not been the same like since. He passed away at 91, but yeah,
Oh, I'm so
yep,
sorry.
at the gym like 3 days a week, man. Like I was like, if my grandma just turned 94,
I
I was
love it.
like, come on.
You have longevity in your life also, Teresa. That's
Yes,
good.
yep,
That's right.
yep.
That's a good sign for sure. Wow. But does that make sense? Like, or can you guys attest to that? How much time it really does take to
Right.
be in this league as a bodybuilder? We all started. I started in figure. Teresa, you started in figure.
Figure,
So we all started in figure, right? And
And back then we were researching, coaches weren't really a thing.
Oh my
You know
God.
what I mean? Like, and like now it's like these posing clinics and all this stuff. If we would have had that, we would have progressed, and it wouldn't have taken us 10 years.
so much
You
quicker.
know?
And you're
Yeah.
right. That is
We,
true. That's a good way to think about it,
yeah,
because I was thinking about how long it's taking, some of us to kind
yeah,
of get to this level versus the mentality of a lot of amateur and a lot of people coming into the show
yeah,
to sport now. They're like, oh yeah, I want my pro card next year. And I'm like,
yeah.
And
Like,
we have
but
to
we had dial-up AOL. We had freaking Oxygen magazines, fitness magazines that gave you samples of what these girls were eating. Like, you were just
yes,
trial and error
yes,
everything. And then Gary came out
absolutely.
with those perfect posing DVDs, and that was like the only thing that you could look at to like get posed,
Yeah, we
unless
were
you knew
figuring
someone in
out.
person.
right. I was trying to think. I don't even know who even posed me at that for figure. I don't even know. Like, I
I
don't
used the
remember.
magazines.
Like, I like that. How
I
did I
think
even learn how to
Google. I
do
mean, to be
that?
honest, I don't know if Google was a thing, and I
AOL,
can't
that dial-up.
remember. Well, that's right. So I remember just searching online, like bodybuilding poses. Like
Yep.
I did my first show off of a dare. I didn't even really know the
Yeah.
background of bodybuilding like that. Like I
Really?
know the big names,
Yes.
like obviously like Ronnie Coleman, like
Oh,
the
yeah,
men's
them.
one,
Yeah.
Alinda Murray. Like I knew those names, but I didn't know. Like I've
Hmm.
had heard of them. And one of my clients, one of my personal training clients, was like, oh, I bet you could do that. I was like, no, that's not my thing. And literally, like Googled it. There was a local show, maybe like 30 minutes away from me. I did my prep in like 5 weeks. I literally just cut out carbs and went
Yep.
on 30-minute runs.
So what? That's all we did. That's all we did. Yep.
I had no idea. I think I started posing maybe like 2 days before the show. I just looked
Yep.
to see like what the poses needed to look like.
Yep. That's
I
it.
will never forget that day. It was the most, but those are the things that really give you that textured history, right? So that you can talk to the younger
Yeah.
competitors coming up and guide them, give them,
Mhm.
motivation, inspiration, insight. But I think the biggest thing is like time. Like you
Hmm.
have to be willing to
Yeah.
put the
Right.
time in.
Just
And we're
like she
just not.
said, you want to compete, and then the next year you want to go pro. Then the next year after that you want to go to Olympia. Like, be realistic. You know what I mean? And you're really stepping over our toes. Thinking you're automatically better than any pro out there. Like, you didn't even put the time in, you didn't even learn, and a lot of them are looking for a handout. So it's just they don't understand the discipline and hard work that it takes to even get there. They really
Right.
don't.
And just the mental fortitude to
Yes.
understand that this is an awesome sport,
Hmm.
but there are various sort of angles that you have to come at it from, right? Like,
Mhm.
no, we're not doing this to win a medal. We're all
Hmm.
coming because we want to get to the top echelon of the sport. We want to be Miss Olympia. We want to win pro shows. We want to be Rising Phoenix World Champion. However, I think we've all come to the point of realization in our mind that it really depends on who shows up on that day. It depends on the judging. But we're doing this to be better as a physique artist, right? As a bodybuilding artist.
Right.
And we know that if we bring our best package, then we can be competitive.
Right.
But when you're just coming up, if you're only looking for the value in yourself by a win or by your placing, you're going to have a really tough road to travel. You're going to feel really bad because you're going to come out to these shows that are you're going to be picked apart. And it's not to say that you're not a good bodybuilder yet, right? You're just going to have to put that time, get the muscle density, learn how to diet properly, learn how to condition properly. And a lot of us are only just now coming into that realization in these most recent years,
Right.
Finding a good prep coach, figuring out what works best for you. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that I would want for us to really promote to these girls coming up is really figure out your why. Like Tequila, you mentioned that. Like, is your why really big enough or really strong enough to push you through the season? You only have maybe one or two opportunities to compete and may have to risk pushing through another 5 weeks to another show, pushing through another 3 weeks to another show, and still not really be afforded that opportunity to compete with the top echelon. I don't think you're going to have that problem personally, but that is something that a lot of these younger competitors have to be able to wrap their mind around,
right?
And embrace and, figure out what their why is and what's going to continue to push them, and as long as that's established and you have that like really here at the forefront, I think all that other stuff will fall away if we can continue to compete, if we can continue to get onto the stages and have these shows available,
Right.
Yeah. And I think the same thing, like along that lines, it's like, you're doing this, like, yeah, we do it to win, but we also do it to perfect ourselves. We have this vision of what we want to look like. So each year we choose to go and improve, and you got to remember, like, they're judges. Yes, they give you your points, but are you going to let those 5 people dictate and tell you how good you look? So a lot of people get really heartbroken about it, but did you really look at yourself? Look where you came from, and then take it and then run with it and learn and look at your pictures. And then you say, okay, well, yeah, I needed to fix that and this and this. So we don't need to train back, or we don't need to train shoulders. And we just need to work on what we need to finish the canvas. Like you were saying, like painting it, we're a work of art, so you can't really let anybody tell you their opinion on what they think of your physique. Yes, that's what gets us ahead in the sport, but at the same time, like, be happy with you and be happy with the journey, that you're going to get there. And the places the places I've been and the people I met, you can't take back, so whether you ever win or don't win, it's just the whole thing is an overall whole, just like you. I mean, like, just having these conversations, just getting this type of information out to these, newer up and coming people, or people that are self-doubting themselves that still are in the pro league, So, I mean, it's just giving everybody a voice.
Absolutely.
And as cliche as it sounds, and that's exactly what you were saying, is that learning to enjoy and embrace the whole journey and the process of it. Because yes, we get like, are we going to look the best on stage? Are we going to beat this person? Looking at people on Instagram and comparing each other. But what body are you trying to build? And just focus on that. And, and then, like you said, once you have done all that you have, now you can step on stage to be confident. You can step on stage to be competitive, because, you have embraced and enjoyed the journey of building the ideal physique that you want to present the world.
Yeah.
And that's hard as hell to do. I mean, I'm not saying it's cliche and it's hard as hell.
We're never happy with ourselves.
So I'm going to replay this to hear myself say that.
Back in my head. Absolutely.
But that is the hard thing. You have to have someone in your mind to keep reminding you. It's like, no, focus on your body. Focus on what you're trying to accomplish, not on anything else. Because whatever happens is going to happen. It's going to be.
Well, even if you would ask your younger version of yourself, like, do you think that you would be, or stepped on any stage, or met the people that you've been, if you would have talked to yourself like 15 years ago?
Right.
I'd be like, you're out of your mind. That ain't happening.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm never going to the Olympia. Like, it's good to think. You know what I mean? But like, we look at ourselves and we have these big dreams, and these big goals that we have. And then at the end of the day, you look back and you're like, you take a deep breath and you're like, holy shit, I did it. When you've worked so hard and you stay focused on it, you stay positive with it. It's just, I don't know, like this saved my life completely from, drinking. That was the reason my first show, I was on house arrest. I had 155 days of it, and there was a show the day after, and my mom had a weeder machine in the basement, and I looked at magazines, I Googled them, I talked to probation, I knew I wasn't allowed to leave the state. He let me leave the state because it wasn't anything bad. That's how I did my first show, and then that led me to other things. It got me out of bulimia. It saved me from bulimia. There's so many good things that this sport brings, whether it's winning or not. It's what it does as a whole, and for you as a person, I feel.
That's right.
Yeah.
Teresa, I had no idea that was your backstory. And Tequila, maybe, I think that's probably a good segue to get into your backstory too. Like, we all come from, different backgrounds. We have our own unique story. I didn't know that you had been competing for so long, Tequila, to be honest. I thought you were like brand new. So when I saw you in Puerto Rico, I was like, who is this girl just like jamming on the scene like that? She just came in stomping, like she's making some noise. And so, Teresa, for you to say, to share with us that story, that's so important, and I don't think that we have enough platforms to share those stories. A lot of times you'll get either the newspapers or some of these other platforms, the YouTube channels or podcasts, and they don't really get into the nitty gritty of that.
Or some people don't talk about it,
some people don't talk about it. But when we can be vulnerable like this and transparent, if you wouldn't mind going a little bit into that, what were you doing before that sort of what's your background? I don't know if athletics or sports or school or whatever the case may be. What was your background before your life took that turn and you decided to start competing?
Like, in a nutshell, I was on the Sequonet team. I tried out for like 2 years and I didn't make it. Finally did on my senior years. That's the only athletic background that I had.
What's the Sequonet team?
Like a dance team in the marching band, kick team, stuff like that. So I did that for a little while, and then huge arguments with my parents led me out of the house. Ended up in a horrible relationship with PFAs, getting beat. Went and lived back with my mom in the basement. Didn't talk to her. He broke in, beat my head off the floor. Like it was bad. So from then, it's just you moved straight into alcohol, and it wasn't like that. It was just like when I was depressed, I was at home. I wasn't getting along with my parents. And then I was at the bar because I was happy, it took me out and put me in a socialism type thing. Well, after 1 and 2 and 3, I get sentenced to 155 days house arrest. So all friends kind of just disappear, and you're down in the basement, working on yourself and trying to find out yourself, looking at magazines and things. And that's what branched me, into that whole competitive season. And in that terms of being in alcoholism, the bulimia was 7 years too. So it was trying to retrain your brain to I wasn't an alcoholic. I know I wasn't. I can cut that at any point. But it was the bulimia that a lot of people do need to seek help. I unfortunately did not, because up here I had such a great mindset that I knew I could do it and I knew I could overachieve it. But it was teaching me literally that food was fuel. That was my number one kicker, that why am I draining my muscle? Why am I doing this? And then you kind of teach yourself totally different, and then it just takes off and you get addicted.
That's wild. That's an amazing testimony. That's so crazy, because I think, when people think about bodybuilders in general, men or women, they think, self-involved, they think probably narcissistic, they think selfish, they think, oh, they need to be, they're obsessive, compulsive, all those things. And maybe we don't get enough credit for really why we, how we got here, the path that we took, and sort of how we ended up here.
I stated that before too, because we'll hear her story, but it's we got one stage and we have a million people going on that stage. We share the same passion, but the reason why we're there is different.
All different.
And every single one of them. That's the craziest thing as a whole.
Wow. Tell us about you, Tequila.
And I think all different, but Teresa, I don't think all that different. You know what I mean? Because I feel like not that I think that bodybuilding is at some form of therapy for us, for whatever trauma that we've gone through. My background is in cheer and dance. And I grew up in a very performative ballet world. And I did not have the performative ballet body. I was never, I was always, you're going to be good in modern, jazz, but never was able to get the premier ballet pieces because of my body. And my instructor will come in and be like, Tequila, I saw what you ate for lunch today. Don't let me ever see that again, And so I started with my eating disorder in middle school. And it was my cheerleading coach who also had fought through anorexia. And I had a combination of anorexia and bulimia. And I would use more of, I'll be that girl that would take my money and go to CVS and get all the diuretics, and then get all of the over-the-counter, pills. Even in middle school, started the smoking, because smoking and pills, that takes your appetite away. I couldn't just really go no eating, because I was raised by my grandparents, and they cook every meal, and I would just be like, I'll just eat, half of it, but then I would go pop, 3, diuretics right afterwards. And it was until my grandmother finally figured out I had a problem and confided in my cheerleading coach, where they helped me get through that. But it wasn't until my first figure show to when I actually ate my meals and I was smaller than I had ever been.
Yep. Yep.
Wow.
And
That's
then
what
I was,
I wish other people would
you
realize that,
know, and I'm
Yeah.
just like, wait a minute. You know what I mean? Like, of course I can't eat McDonald's every day,
Mm-hmm.
and still be skinny, but I can, wash my portion and get my protein and, and at that time, not knowing vegetables were a cause of a lot of my issues, but, your vegetables and all of that stuff. So I started the same way, and always have to even remember because like I didn't get professional help for my eating disorders.
Yeah.
That was always still in the back of your head, and it's like, remember remember you got to eat, you know what I mean? Especially, and it's hard for us as I'm speaking for myself in bodybuilding for the improvement season because I have to put on weight to improve.
Yeah. Yep.
So it sort of gives you permission.
Yes.
And it's like, what do you
get
mean?
out of your head about it?
Yep.
And I'm just like, I can't. And so I have to still battle through that. And also with me being, because I am a primary lifestyle coach and I teach a lot of group exercise classes. So they're different from the bodybuilding world.
Right.
So while they love it and they support, they don't understand the whole process of it. And so in my mind, during my whole improvement season, they're judging me. They're saying I'm so big, they're saying I'm so fat. They can hear me breathing heavy because I'm 10 pounds heavier than I was, I'm like, they're not going
I think realistically though, for you, it's like, you have a goal. You know what I mean? And you're doing it for a specific reason now. So that can kind of like
and so that's
take
when
you over.
I have to come back in and talk to myself and be like, okay, T, do you really care what they're thinking about you breathing right now while you're on this bike?
Yeah.
Or are you going to be thinking about like, oh, my instructor made it to the Olympia. Like, which one are you going to be excited about? You know what I mean? Let's think about this. Let's look at the big picture of it, And then also to understand that half of the things that you think that people are saying about you, they're not. Half of the things that you think people are looking at you and saying and believe, they're not. And so once you understand that, then you'll be able to be a lot happier and, live a little bit fuller. But it's a process, But the eating disorders, I know, a lot of my friends who've gotten into it because of abuse, and that's why this community is so special and so close-knit because we understand, the struggle before and during this whole process.
Correct. Yes.
That's right. And there's so many peaks and valleys. It's literally a roller coaster. But if you have the right people around you, the right support, the right coach, the right, comrades, right? We're all fellow competitors. So, we're all over the country, but I know I can send a DM to Tequila or I can send, reach out to Teresa and we get back in touch with each other. You don't leave each other hanging, and that's what's been really great even about this podcast. I've had such a great response from all of the competitors. It really just like lights me up because I know that I'm not the only one that thinks this is important, but then also when people are putting action behind their words and they're saying, yeah, I'll jump on, no problem. Like, just give me a call or just give me a ring. It's not like a whole long drawn out complex, process. And people are willing to be a part of the thing that you're doing to help improve.
I think literally, Sheena, what helps with that is you are an active competitor. You've been there and you've done that. There's a lot of people that are opening up these podcasts that never even competed before, and they're bringing people on so they don't know you at all, but we can relate to you. You know what I mean? And we can have a really good conversation because you live and breathe it too. So, and that's why, like, I think you're the first one actually in the women's bodybuilding world that did this, So that's it. That's what it's all about.
I was so excited. She would tell you, I was so excited because I'm like, thank God, because I am so tired of listening to all these male-dominated podcasts. Like, and I'm like, why am I even listening in hopes they like sprinkle something about women's bodybuilding? And I'm like, oh, they're talking about us. That was 2 seconds. And I was like,
no, I'm so excited. I cannot wait to continue to build this out and have more people on. And obviously, I mean, I feel like the sky's the limit with where it could go.
Oh, yeah.
My goal really is to do even more live in person podcasts. So maybe we travel to Pennsylvania, we travel down to Atlanta, we get a bunch of girls together. We do behind the scenes.
Do it at shows. Grab people and say, hey, can I interview for my show? And then you just get one of those wireless mics
Yeah.
Get one of the lights behind your phone and record it and load it.
Going.
I think there's so much, there's so many places this can go. And I think it's unique in the fact that I am an active competitor. So there will be weeks that maybe I'm not leading the podcast, but I hand it off to a co-host and they lead the podcast because maybe they're not in prep or they're not doing a show, or, you know, maybe I'm not giving feedback on a show because I was in the show.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Bias out of it, but you know, there's just so much. I think there's so many places this can go, and I'm so glad to have you guys a part of it. I would like to actually share with others just a little bit more personal, sort of like what we're into outside of bodybuilding, because we could talk about bodybuilding for hours. Trust me, I've had a couple of episodes before we went on for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Yeah. The editing process was a pain in the butt, but it just felt like so much good stuff that I didn't want to cut anything out, right? So I love the fact that we can talk about bodybuilding. We have our ideas about bodybuilding, but then also like we're human, right? Tequila, you mentioned that you're a lifestyle coach. You teach, you know, a bunch of group classes. Teresa, you know, you talked about your history, but we don't know, and maybe people watching don't know about what you do on a day-to-day basis to allow you and afford you the time to be able to train, or maybe some of the things that put barriers up that keep you from training as often as you would like, or, you know, make it difficult, but things that we still have to work through, you know? So if Teresa, you want to feed off with that, and then Tequila, I'll have you, because I have a couple of things I want to throw at you, because I've been seeing your classes, girl. I see your classes, I'm like, I don't know how she do it, but I want to get into, hold on to that thought. And Teresa,
we have a gym, and it's been open since for 9 years now. We're going on 10. We've been looking at tons of different buildings and land now to expand it. So that has been a complete, because one minute we're able to do it and we're not, just depending on like the location and who wants to do what. In the middle of prep is challenging because you're trying to like look at flooring and look at new equipment and all that stuff. So we kind of put that on the back burner while I'm still in active competing. But we do have that. Then we train people in-house, and I train them online. I do posing as well. Travel to a lot of different places to do the posing clinics. We have a t-shirt shop that, you know, the boys are running, and they print all the t-shirts for everybody up there. But like as a whole, like, I mean, I like enjoy helping people. You know, I am sponsored by many different types of sponsors, which I'm forever thankful for. So I do a lot of social media. I try to put reels out there. Thankfully, the gym has been like the backbone, you know, to the income and making money and giving back to our community, and giving me the free time to do, you know, things like podcasts and stuff like that, where I'm able to have a little bit more extra time.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And hold on to that thought too, because I'm glad you mentioned a couple of your sponsors. I would love to highlight some of the sponsors and the brands and, you know, just the people who are really helping support us, because it's not a cheap sport, right? No. There is a lot of investment. So I think, you know, I want to hold off on just giving them a shout out. So we'll do that maybe once we wrap up, because I mean, I think it's integral, number one, to recognize and acknowledge these brands and the sponsorships, the companies that are really helping us out, because it's just invaluable. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's a life saving to athletes, you know, any of them that can reach out, and especially women's bodybuilding, you know, being an athlete and then being able to accept a sponsorship, you know, from a company, you know, which wasn't heard of for a while. Like there was a couple of years where nobody would sponsor a female bodybuilder. Now it's opened back up again.
Yeah, 100%. That's awesome. So I'm excited to talk about that. What about you, Tequila? Talk to us about what you do outside of being a bodybuilder, outside of the competitive part of who you are. You know, what's the turn up in Atlanta? How do you go out and have fun? Like, how do you do what you do and still be able to compete?
Like Teresa, my life also is in the gym. So I start off with just training lifestyle clients. And so I do that from 5 a.m. to about 11 every day. And then I teach boot camp classes. I teach at PepperBoxing, and I teach infrared heated spin at Sweat Cycle. And so I do that every night and on the weekends. And so, like you were saying, finding that time to train. So normally I kind of squeeze in between like the 12 and 3, you know, trying to get all of my training in, so it takes a lot of time management and making sure everything's organized, and I struggle with that a little bit, but I have great support to help me with that going.
Like, how do you even get enough calories in a day?
Yeah,
Like
that part.
I don't think people really realize or take into consideration. Like, you're training, like, okay, maybe we have our morning cardio, maybe we have our, you know, our evening workouts, or maybe we're only getting into the gym once. But a lot of us, in order to, you know, afford our lifestyle and in order to work, we're working real jobs. We're not like some of these open bodybuilders or other competitors that have these big sponsorships where, you know, we're getting a stipend every month and they're taking care of our bills. Like, we're working full-time jobs, taking care of family, taking care of kids, things like that. How do you get enough calories in? Because if you're training from 5 to 12 and then cycle and boot camp it,
eating as I'm training my clients, it's like I've had to learn to feel bad about walking around the gym with food in my hand. I drive my boyfriend absolutely insane eating and driving because he like, can you not just keep your hands on the steering wheel? I'm always like, podcast, eating my food, like. So it definitely is like just eating and going and eating and going. And again, that has been that one thing that we're just trying to figure out how to pump those calories. I try to get a lot of my calories earlier in the day just because I am in one place. So I'm able to kind of eat and I'm not in the car going. But that has definitely been a challenge of getting all those calories in. Because just me, even if I'm not on the bike, so sometimes then I won't ride, just trying to preserve those calories, especially since spin, you know, is so heavily involved with your lower body and your legs. And so, but even me being on the floor with my with my Apple Watch, I'm still burning 400 calories because I'm still jumping and I'm in infrared heat. So that's been the cool thing. I'm not having to do any additional sauna sessions because cardio. And I try to tell people in Atlanta, I'm like, if you're in Atlanta, sweat cycle is every like competitor's dream.
Yeah.
Because, and even if you're not doing my class, you can just come sit on the bike and turn the resistance up and ride in the saddle.
Let me book a flight real quick. I'm
literally the only cardio that I truly needed. And even if it's just 30 minutes. And so when it gets closer to the show, I'll jump on, you know, for 30, 45 minutes and ride the class. But at that point, it's hard because my calories are lower and I'm tired. And so I'm like, okay.
Have you ever done a full calorie day? Like, match to like you have to do it.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was like well over 3,500 calories.
Yeah, I just
over. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. It was just like insane how many calories. Because even with my clients, I do a lot of group sessions, so I'm all over the gym running. So I'm not just one of the trainers that sits there and that's just like
one of the trainers on their phone,
right,
eating your chicken,
running. Changing weights, pulling, because I'm just like, I feel like, because I don't know why I feel like my clients can't touch their own weight. I don't know why. But so I'm like pulling the 45s off for them, putting them on and all of that. But yeah, it was well over 3,500. I remember that. I was like, okay, you're not eating enough calories. And it was funny because in my amateur preps, once I would go into my refeed, I would immediately just like drop like 3-4 pounds.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And that's just like, that is an indication, mama, you're not eating. Or after I came off of prep, I would go crazy and I would literally drop like 6-7 pounds.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so
those are the things that coaches are so important for, especially, you know, if you don't have a history of competing over a long period of time. You know, we all have 10 plus years in the game, so we sort of recognize those things. But I think having a solid coach in your corner is really important, because once you get that close to a show, you're in that prep brain, and some people think that they can work through it. I'm guilty of it. I thought I could work through prep brain before and figure it out myself, but you need those extra set of eyes, and you need that level head of that coach that can see you outside of yourself and say, all right, we need, a refeed day, 2 refeed days. We're going to do, high, medium, low, or we're going to do, this or that, so that your body really can reach its full potential.
Or sit your ass down.
Yep.
because I think.
Can we talk about sit your ass down for a minute? Yep. Can we talk about it? Because I promise you, I think that I'm like a chill person. Everybody in my life is like, no, you're all over the place. You're ripping, you're running, you're doing this, you're doing that. And I'm like, oh yeah, but this is just that. I have to, you have so many balls that you're juggling in the air. And just to go back to last year, I recognized at that point, there are some times where you just have to sit your ass down. And if you don't, your body is going to sit it down for you, and it's not going to be good, right?
It's going to be for longer than a day.
You'll get exhausted. Yeah.
I bet you were amazed once you took that rest and you looked at your body and you were like, where was this?
Baby.
Where was this?
It happened. It literally happened once I had sort of separated myself. So at the end of last season, near the end of last season, Chris Cormier actually invited me out to San Diego. I went out to California and I trained with him. He hosted me like at his, his compound. He has this amazing house. He has like, gym equipment. He has a studio. It's like amazing, right? He's having me come out to the gym. We're training. And he trains at the gym, San Diego. But the San Diego, California itself doesn't have a massive or a complex public transportation like system. And I'm from Jersey, like Jersey, Philly. That's all we do is catch the train, hop on the bus, and you can get anywhere. So my ass was walking to the gym, which was good because it was maybe like a mile down the road, right? There was one that was closer to his place. And then there was, one that was maybe like a 20-minute drive. So I wasn't driving. I didn't have a rental car, but my ass was walking back and forth. So that was my cardio. Just from not being on the Stairmaster for 40 minutes a day, just from, allowing my body to just do the normal walking, burning the normal walking calories, the stress fell out of my body. The inflammation fell out of my body. I was able to rest and just focus on training, and not having so many other things sort of in the background, sort of spinning in the background, just allowed me and my body to respond 10 times faster and better. If I had done that after Tampa instead of pushing through to Savannah, if I had just done that after Tampa and went into Rising Phoenix, I feel like I would have brought a better package. But, what is it? Looking in the past is 2020.
Well, you mental note that
right
next season.
I know to be ripping and running, doing all these errands, running to my mom's, running to the gym, picking up clients, so much.
Yep.
And to your point, Tequila, time management is such a thing because I don't think a lot of competitors consider like cortisol is a real thing, adrenal stress is a real thing. All the things that you're not doing to refill your cup. It has a real impact on your physical body.
Or if they don't ask what you do on a daily basis, they don't ask you your stress of your job, like they don't know you as a whole, and then they like blame you for not eating correctly. When you're telling the truth, but there's other things that they don't ask so you don't tell. This is what I think we like. I'm big on communication, and it's telling the girls, hey, I need everything. If you can't go to the bathroom, I need to know. Or if your pee's a different color, I need to know. So there is nothing in the bodybuilding world between coach and client that is TMI. It is not.
That's right.
You gotta tell them everything. Yeah.
That's right. I mean, that goes down to even like, relationship stuff. If you're in a relationship, y'all are stressing out, you're arguing, your car breaks down, you're working different hours at work, you're picking up different hours on your work schedule. Like maybe you're working a regular 9 to 5, but then now all of a sudden it's like overnight shift. Like all of those things have such an impact on the physical body. So I actually want to take this time to give a shout out to our coaches. If you guys want to just recognize your coaches, and then we'll get into our sponsorships. If anybody has sponsorships, so that we can put that out there. I'm excited to share my sponsorship because I just picked up a new one.
Cool.
But it's more like a personal, like girly girl kind of thing. But I think it's important for us to have. So
it is.
So, Tequila, if you have anybody that you would like to give a shout out to, coach, sponsors, anything like that, have at it.
Well, my one sponsor I have is my hair sponsor, True Glory Hair. So they provide all of my hair for all of my shows and for life. And that's literally been one of my goals, is putting myself out there. The one thing that I haven't been good about is marketing myself and learning that, because I'm just a go person. I just don't like focusing on, so I need to change that, because that is also the only way that we can, brand ourselves and become profitable in the sport. And so hopefully once I start doing more of that, then I can start picking up, some more sponsors.
Amen.
But True Glory here is my one that is still huge.
Yes.
How expensive hair is.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big thing, especially, listen, you know what I mean? Not everybody can just like throw it back in a ponytail or like blow it out. It takes a lot. So I'm not throwing out like, so that's good. So what's their name again?
True Glory. True Glory hair. Yeah.
True Glory hair. Are they on Instagram?
Yeah, yeah, definitely Instagram, and they have a couple of shops in Atlanta, and they're online.
Awesome. I'll make sure to post that in the description. I'll put a link to all of our Instagrams, but also to the sponsors too, so they could get a shout out for sure. And obviously, we're working with the same coach.
Yes, we're working with Trey. Yes,
excited.
Yes.
I don't think I love Trey. I think that he's a super personable person. Like he really gives you an individualized, unique plan, and I think he kind of like plays to your energy. He matches energy.
Yeah.
If you're a hands off kind of person, he'll give you your space. But if you get a lot more hands on attention, he'll be there, every step of the way. So big shout out to Trey for both of us.
Yes.
And Teresa, you mentioned you have a new coach now, and then also you have a bunch of sponsors. I see you killing it, girl. So
yeah. So I'm with Andrew View, and it's been amazing so far. He's very, very dedicated to the client, and wants everything to be perfect like now. So our main thing is we want to rush everything now, get everything off now, and then cruise in. So that's kind of how we're running things right at the moment. For sponsorship wise, I have Mega Fit Meals, which fully sponsored me this year, which has been a blessing. I have Gaspari Nutrition, Wolfpack, Old School Bodybuilding, Angel Bikinis. Who else am I missing? I have like so many. Liquid Sun Rays. I have OCD Cookie. I'm with Liquid IV, Gas, and all of them too as well. So it's just, and I have a great posing coach, which is Jen Underwood. She's going to do my routine again this year. So it's just been a blessing with this family of people that I've got to meet, and I get the opportunity to work with this year. A lot of them are new with me this year. I've been with few for the past couple years, but Stage Ready Hair is also another one of my sponsors as well. So I pretty much am dotting I's, crossing T's, and working with whoever I can, but I can't thank these guys enough for doing this and helping me out.
That's awesome. That's so great to hear. That's so it's so motivating and inspiring to know that there are companies out there that are willing to work with us, that are willing to support us and lift us up. And we do have to market ourselves. Tequila, I'm going to be on your butt, girl. Get on it.
She is the real queen. You're in good hands.
Knew how long it took me to put this reel out today for my birthday on Sunday. Okay. I just posted it today.
Today's your birthday or Sunday?
Yeah, it was Saturday. Thank you. It was Saturday. And
happy belated birthday.
Huge thing. And I was like, I got to get this out. I'm like, it's Wednesday, Tequila. You got to do it today. These people are going to think you're like so ungrateful. So it took me 3 days.
That's cool. Well, just to round out, then I'll share a few of mine. I don't have too many, but the ones that are in my corner, they stick with me heavy. We're 10 toes down. So definitely want to give a shout out to my home gym, Attila's Gym in Belmar. They've been, 10 toes down with me since I joined their gym, even through the pandemic. So I'm super grateful to Frank Trombetti. He's the owner of the gym there. And the whole community there is just amazing. Everybody's so supportive. They always shout me out whenever I'm doing a show or in prep. There are a bunch of other pros there as well, a bunch of other competitors. So it's a really tight-knit community and family. And they just take care of me. So anything that I need, whether it's transportation or, flights, accommodations, they usually help me out. All of my supplements are taken care of by them. But I also just partnered with a nutrition company, NutriAuthority. I'm now sponsored by them. So I have an affiliate link with them, and I'm super excited to work with them and sort of share their products, because I think that they're quality products. They're not big in the bodybuilding world just yet, but I think that it sort of integrates both general population and bodybuilding, and they put out quality products. So I'm super excited about that. I'm actually wearing lashes, so this is the one that I was really excited about. I'm wearing lashes by one of my friends. She has her own. I want to see if you guys can see.
Oh yeah, I like them.
Yes.
She has her own, lash line. She's a makeup artist, gorgeous makeup artist. Her name is Tony, and she runs Face On Makeup Lashes. She also does face on makeup, like makeup. She may be getting into the bodybuilding scene, so hopefully I can connect her with the right people and get her on site. Because, the way she beats face is just amazing. She even complimented me on how I did my makeup. I'm like, girl, don't set me up. Don't hype me up.
Where's she from? Is she local, like to you?
She's local to me.
Okay.
So she's in Philly. But she's also on Instagram. She's got her website. So I actually have an affiliate link with her as well. So you can actually get 50% off all of her lashes, and all of her lashes are signature, and they're designed with a cotton lash band, I want to say. So it's a very durable but yet light sort of lash construction.
Okay.
And what I think is really cute is that all of her lashes are named for a special woman or a special girl in her life. She has lashes
cool.
after her nieces or her cousins or her aunts, her moms, her sisters.
Oh, that's
super cute. What I love about these lashes, like each lash is different. She sent me 3 pairs of lashes to try from her collection. This is the Madison, and I love this lash because it's like dense, it's full, but it's like not heavy.
No.
It doesn't weight, very wispy, feathery.
Mm-hmm.
I think that these are good if you're going to do like content or if you're going to go on a date. Like, I think I look pretty cute right now.
I like them.
I want you guys to see, like, it's really cute. It really highlights your eyes, but especially as competitors, like these are little things that we need to have in our, in our what's the word, our toolbox.
Yeah.
When we go, so that we know, okay, we have lashes. Sometimes you go to a makeup artist. How much are they charging for makeup? And you know how important like the presentation is, right?
Right.
So the way that we look on stage is really important. That's why I wanted to shout her out, because it's so expensive to do makeup. It's so expensive to do lashes. And she's partnering with me and really sort of just giving us an opportunity to get everything that we need, try a bunch of different lashes. So if you guys are interested in checking her out, I'll also post her link, but go on to the link, or you can find her on Instagram. You can use guess what the code is?
Oh, Lord.
Y'all know on TikTok. So if you guys are watching this from Women's Bodybuilding, the code is going to be WBB for real. So it's just the name of our show, WBB, the number 4, and the word real all put together. So that's going to be the code, the discount code. But if you're seeing this from my personal page, or if you guys know my personal page, I go by Queen Zaddy She. You can also use the code Queen Zaddy.
I like it.
It is what it is.
Like, and period, right? So definitely wanted to shout her out for that, because I'm really excited to be partnering with her. I don't have any worries about how I'm going to look on stage. You guys won't either. And she has a bunch of different styles. I want to say like 16 different styles.
Oh, wow.
And you could get like 10, 11 wears out of it.
Wow.
So that's not normal, right?
Yeah.
It's yeah. She sends them to you in these like cute little compacts that also double as actual storage for the lashes.
Okay.
So I'm not going to get too deep onto that, but obviously I'm like sitting here like just spewing everything because I'm like gushing over it. I really love it. And then obviously, again, a big shout out to Trey, because he's been with me since 2019. We've been working together, and I love everything about how my physique has evolved. So big shout out to our coaches, big shout out to our sponsors, big shout out to all the people in our lives that are just in our corner, our family, our friends, all those people. You guys are so supportive. And to everybody watching, big shout out to you guys. Yeah. Keep those comments, those likes, those subscriptions coming. Share as much as you can so that we can get this out to the people and keep bringing you guys amazing episodes.
Yay.
All right. So I'll let you guys go. I know that it's time for one of us to eat. I'm sure it's
eating train.
I ate right before, so I'm good for 3 hours.
All right. Well, then I will definitely be keeping in touch with you guys. I'll be following you throughout the competition season. I'm sure we'll be staying in touch through social media and Instagram and all that good stuff. But I'll be sure to post and share your Instagram tags, your ads, and all that good stuff. So if there's anything additional, you just let me know. Okay. So until next time, eat good. Get some good rest. Have some good sex. Take care of yourself.
Ow.
Ow. Thanks so much, ladies.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.